today on Truth Room TV, I'm interviewing my friend and amazing author, Mel Wells. She is the author of the book, The Goddess Revolution. She does goddess workshops all over the world. She is a speaker, a coach, so much more. We are going to dig in with her about all things goddess. Welcome, Mel!
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm so happy you're here.
Me too.
And she's just here for a little bit. She lives in Bali, so we're just visiting.
And Bali is called the land of the gods, which I didn't even realize until I already decided to move there. And I was like, this is perfect.
You're aligning.
What else? All the synchronicities.
I know. And isn't that the truth? Synchronicities totally happen when you line up with yourself, which you're about to talk about. It's like the world reflects that. It's incredible.
Always. And then you tell these stories and they stop being so surprising. Yeah. They're just like, of course. Yeah.
And then like kind of how we met was super synchronistic too. It's like, oh, we vibe online and then all of a sudden you're in town when I was throwing this party and then just crazy stuff. And you're like, whoa, our tribe is coming together. When you start vibing with your own sort of vibration, your own alignment.
I'm in a big habit of reaching out to women that I immediately vibe with online. I mean, like, we should connect and be friends. And let's go and meet.
Why not?
Why not?
Why not? And it always works out.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Thank God for social media.
It's the same way I met Nick, who I was telling you about in the videos. It's actually the same way that me and Rick met. Well, actually, I'm pointing that because he's upstairs. But it was like through like it's a mad story. I think I told you about it, but it was like a reading. But it was just like tons of synchronicity.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You just end up just being like, well, of course.
It's all connected.
It's everything touches everything, and everything is a reflection.
The veil is lifted.
There you have it.
It's all the truth, the truth room.
Exactly.
So I want to ask you a whole bunch of amazing questions because you're super inspiring to me. But first I want you to tell us about what inspired the Goddess Revolution. I know it's about food and empowering women with the relationships of food, but I feel like you're such a voice of self-love.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot that got there. And so I kind of want to share your journey if you're open to it.
Of course. Yeah. So similar to you, I was an actress, a model, and I had like been going after these dreams for like since I was a child. I believed that I was supposed to be an actress and a model, and I lived out here in LA for a while as well, doing that acting thing. And the whole time I suffered, but like it literally consumed my whole life with an eating disorder, and it was literally like 7 years, but it just became part of my identity. It became so normal to me, and like no one really knew about it. It was just, and I would always dumb it down if anyone would say anything, but I was so used to abusing my body for years, and so used to being in an industry where a lot of people were doing it and it felt normal. And it literally was it was my best friend, it was my enemy, it was my addiction, and it was just my dirty little secret. And like even like my partner that I was with for 5 years didn't know about it, and it was just really a problem in my life. And I wasn't really aware of it until I started studying nutrition, and I realised that I was using the nutrition information that I was learning to just basically express my eating disorder in a different way.
Oh, I got chills when you said that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So like I went from being like a classic kind of like binge and then starve and then binge and then starve and binge and then starve, and you know all the purging and everything else that came with it. I went from that to then learning about nutrition and becoming completely obsessed with no gluten, no dairy, no sugar, no fat, no meat, and like literally cut everything out to the point where I was eating just vegetables and sometimes fruit, but not too much fruit because sugar. You know. So I became like super rigid, and I only trained in nutrition and started learning about all that stuff because I lost my dad quite suddenly to cancer, which then got me on the path of like learning about healing and learning about prevention. So I realised that I realised that the food itself wasn't a problem. Yeah. So like I've been looking for a perfect diet or set of rules to heal my eating disorder, but actually I realised that I was looking in all the wrong places, and actually what healed me was love, self-love, of course. Now I'm like, duh, what else, right? But at the time, you're like, my food is broken, so I must have to find foods that will fix me, or the diet that will fix me. So I was like searching for all these answers outside of myself, as we do. And it took for me and my ex to have a conversation about starting a family, and I started to see myself as like, oh, I'm going to grow a human in this body. And I literally had a download that was like, how on earth do you expect to nurture a human in this body that you're abusing every day? There's no love going in, it's just hate and punishment and guilt and shame and all these kind of crazy diet pills and shakes and all kinds of stuff that I was doing to myself. And it was literally in that moment that I was like, this shit has got to end. And my worst fear was like weight gain. And I was like, I'm living a pretty decent life. Like, that's my worst fear on this planet is weight gain. That's my worst fear. So I was like, I gotta just, like, if I'm gonna be a good mother at any stage in my life, I've got to transcend this with love. And that started my whole self-love journey. And because of the practice of self-love just like revealing itself to me, and me just creating this practice with my body and this connection that I'd never had before. It was like the first time that I was fully in my body and owning my body and actually getting to know my body. And I had a moment of thinking, why am I so against my own body, and why would my body be against me? Why am I fighting her instead of loving her? And how is that going to get me anywhere? And that really started my whole journey into self-love. And then the old nutrition coaches that I was teaching about what to eat, I started teaching them this instead, and it became about psychology. And it was so strange, but not strange at all, that I attracted so many clients to me that had bad relationship with food, negative patterns around binging or bulimia or anorexia, or like just reflections of me everywhere.
Yes,
so I was like,
coaching is for
completely.
sure.
So I was like, this is my tribe. Yes. And so I started teaching them what I had been learning myself and what I was continuing to learn, which is all about self-love. So the Goddess Revolution is about women recognizing that they are goddesses and really nourishing their bodies.
This is incredible. There are so many points in there where I was like, wait. There's so many amazing things to talk about. And I think, I love what you just said though. It's like, really the only way out is in. And we are not taught that. We are taught to look out. Oh, it's broke, we'll fix it here. But it's never about fixing, it's about healing, isn't it?
Completely.
And when you really see that this love we think we're trying to find to heal us is right here, it completely changes the game. And all of a sudden, everything looks different. And you realize, oh my God, I am the healer of me.
Completely.
You become not dependent on these pills or these diets or these, I love how you said these set of rules. It's incredible because I feel like, as a coach myself, everyone's looking for something to work, like these set of rules. And when you really empower, I call the wise guide inside, your own inner guidance, you find your own set of rules. And that's the self-love, is you're not going to be able to find them unless you're in love with self. Completely. So many of us fear self. And so what do? It's like we are looking for something to change what this is. Or like I wanted to ask you, when you said my biggest fear was gaining weight, what does that mean? What if you gain weight?
Yeah, exactly.
Then what?
I had to literally sit and ask myself that question and go, oh, everything would still carry on the same. Like, I would still be here. My life would carry on ticking along. Like, nothing bad is going to happen to the extent that I thought it would. And, like, it's the same with, like, when I see myself, like, mirrored with so many clients, and the way that they come into my programs or they come to work with me, or is like they're terrified of dropping all the rules. Terrified. But they've trapped themselves by it. So really, I feel like my job or my role is just not to set them free, but to give, like, kind of show them the way of, like, you can set yourself free, you don't have to live like this. Look how great it is over here in Freedom Land. You can live here too. And it's funny you say freedom, because I feel like these, especially people with the disorders, I mean, I've been around it a lot as well in the modeling and acting world, and it's a control. And so it's like feeling like you have control, so you're doing this right. And it's like, releasing that control is the only way that you can surrender. It is the only way that you can align with something higher. But we think that God is in these things. God is in my body. God is in my safety. God is, right? And it's the goddess that's in you, right?
And it's interesting because we were talking about the industry and how you had this 7-year disorder when you were an actress, right? Did it start before that, or did it start while you were doing it?
It started at acting college.
It started at acting college. Do you remember the thoughts in your head that made you think, I need to be different than I am?
It was really like, I gotta be perfect. I gotta be perfect because that will mean that I am successful, or that will mean that I am worthy. That will mean that I will be, whatever I wanted to achieve.
Yes.
But it was
it's
really
almost like
certainty.
Yeah. If I'm perfect, I'm certain to make it in some way.
Exactly. If I'm this size, then I must be successful.
Do you know I went through the exact same thing and I've never talked about it?
Really?
Yeah, and it's really about trading in perfection for authentic.
Yeah.
Because we're not sure that our authentic selves are safe. We're not sure that the way that we are is going to be enough for our divine purpose. And so we try to fit into this societal view.
I've experienced that in relationships.
Oh, for sure.
This authentic self doesn't feel safe. Yeah. So when someone sees you, which I'm experiencing for the very first time, someone seeing everything and calling me out on shit, I'm like,
and you're still loved anyway.
I'm still loved. Right, exactly, yeah. I'm still
Unconditional.
completely loved. It's like, what?
But it started with your self-love to feel safe enough to reveal it all.
Exactly.
I see that. That's what happened when I met my husband as well. It was the first person that I was like real with in every way.
Completely.
And he still loved me.
And he loved it.
Exactly.
That's why when we met, it didn't show up how I was used to it showing up.
Yeah.
But that was so that I could just be completely me. And it was still.
Thank God it didn't show up like you're used to, or it would have been the same thing.
Thank God, same patterns. But something that I wanted to touch on that you said was about control and surrendering that control, which is really what it's about. And for the women that, if you are listening, and this is something that you've been going through, and for a lot of people that I work with, they often need to get to a point of just I fucking surrender this. I am done with and if when they get to that place, that's so magic, because then they realise that it hasn't been working for them, and they're just ready for something else, and they're ready to hear.
Get out of your own way.
Yeah, completely. And this is why the Goddess Revolution was really about breaking down the limiting beliefs of the diet and weight loss industry and showing women that there is another way, and they don't have to conform to that obedient women thing where you must not eat this and you must not eat this and this is too much fruit and this is too much, and this ridiculous thing.
Yes.
And actually you can live a life where you are connected with your food, you receive pleasure from your food, you enjoy it, you don't dread parties because of food and alcohol and calories and all the rest of it. You actually live in harmony with your food and with your body, and by doing that you can reclaim your life. So you're more present, you're more present in your relationships with your family. But really, my second book, which I'm writing at the moment.
Yes.
Slowly. But is about how your relationship with food can be the gateway into your spirituality and personal development. But mainly spirituality, because of that same thing of the release and control means you're surrendering. And it's the same thing with life. In many ways, I believe your relationship with food is just a mirror of your relationship with life. It's just the same thing, mirrored back to you. So if you can surrender control around your food, and you can surrender control around being this exact weight all the time, then you're surrendered, and you can surrender to the beauty of life and the universe, and how everything is not always in control. In fact, nothing's in control really ever. So you gotta learn that surrender.
I think what really it reminds me of all the women you said that you coach. It's interesting because I have all the women that I coach are literally identical to me. In fact, one of them was dating my ex-boyfriend. That's how identical.
No way.
How messed up is that? It was amazing. Amazing experience. But it's funny because what I see in all these women that are ready to go to the next level is really instilling self-trust. Listening to body, not listening to a set of rules, not listening to an ideal, but really connecting with the real. And that's the goddess within, is that true self coming out. And it's funny because when you really start to practice this self-trust, you then expand into trust of the universe. And when you trust the universe trusts you back. And it's like this thing that happens. And your life completely expands. Can you talk about that? What happened to you when you really started standing in your self-love and things started changing?
Oh my God. And this is exactly what I go into in my second book. Because it's like since that catalyst, my whole life has transformed. And like it's like I gave myself permission to have this freedom, which started with food, and I started loving myself. Suddenly I was like, I left my ex-husband, I moved, I started traveling the world, I grew my own business, and I literally totally empowered, like living life on my terms, completely like a dream, and things just line up, and if they don't line up, then they line up in a different way. That's right. Completely.
That's a huge thing. Yeah. That's a huge thing. I really had that happen to me not too long ago, where something that I really wanted was right there. And it happened, and then it left. It didn't actually happen. And instead of being like, oh my God, why did that happen? Why didn't I get it? I felt this abundance that we were talking about, and I said, oh, it'll come in a different way. Literally 2 days later, because you stay open, right? You stay open from the trust. 2 days later, something so much better came in, and it was the same date that thing was supposed to be. Like, what are the chances? And I was like, the universe is abundant. If it is right for you or meant for you, it will come to you in whatever form. And I love that you just said that. You're like, well, it'll come another way. You are the abundance. You are the goddess. You are the source.
Yes.
My husband calls it the fridge. He's like, you're the fridge. Everyone needs something from the fridge. And the fridge is full. And I'm like, this is true. You are the source of your own life. You're no longer afraid to really trust what's there. You're loving what's there, and it's loving you back.
It's so beautiful.
It's incredible.
I had something like literally this morning happened that I just remembered. So I had been manifesting this goal at the start of my year, and I had like written it down and I'd like focused on it, and I was like, okay, that's what I want to do that this year. And it's like a big speaking thing, and I was like, I'm going to do that this year.
Nice.
And then I got to May, and I was like, oh no, it was like April, and I was like, oh, I haven't really done anything on that. And I just started thinking about it, and I was like, oh, and I started visualizing it, and I was like, yeah, I really should take some inspired action with that. But I kept kind of shelving it, and I got to Thailand to have some retreat meetings, and I ended up randomly meeting this person that we both followed each other online, and suddenly we were both in the same area of Phuket, but he doesn't live in that area, but he happened to be there that day, and we ended up having dinner, and I was just there for 2 days before I was flying to London. So it was this perfect dinner, and his girlfriend was there, and we had this incredible conversations, like where you really vibe with someone, and we started talking about goals, and he said to me, have you ever thought of doing a TED Talk? And I was like, that was a big goal for my year. And he was like, I'll introduce you to the... And I was like, of course. Of course. So I'm thinking, this is weird. This is amazing. So he introduced me over email, and like a couple of weeks later, I had a Skype, I had an interview. They wanted to meet me straight away, asking these questions. Had the interview, and I was like, it felt like an audition. I was like, I don't know if they like me. I don't know if I'm right for it. It's like, they can be a lot more science-based, not really the spiritualist. And I was like, I don't know how it went, but I let it go.
Yeah.
And literally didn't hear from them in like a month. I was like, cool. And then in my head I was like, oh, I haven't heard from them. Should I follow up or not? Yesterday I was with Rick, and we were like writing out our goals, and we were talking about visualizing and goals together. And I thought to myself, I didn't hear back. I guess I'll let that go, because it might come around in a different city or in a different way, and I wasn't right then, but maybe I'll be right next year, or my message might have developed. This morning I wake up and I got an email saying I got it.
That's what I'm talking about.
As soon as I let it go, it was right there.
Total surrender.
Completely. And it's happened now I think about it, it's happened so much in my life, even with my book, The Goddess Revolution, like the way that I presented it to Hay House, like I spent months working on this book, this proposal, I said it's going to be all these things, and it's going to be this, and I was like, wrapped up in a bow, here you go, Hay House, what do you think? And they were like, no, it's not right for us. And I was like, what? And I poured my heart and soul, and like obsessed over Hay House forever, and like listened to all the audios and like made friends with all the authors and like been to all the events and like really done as much as I could, and then presented this perfect proposal that I'd spent months over, and they were like, it's not quite right, and I was like, oh, weird, and in my head I was like, no, but that's not right, and then I was like, oh, okay, and I had to literally go, okay, well, I've got to let that go, but I wanted to fight for it and be like, but why didn't I get it, and let it go completely, and like 2 weeks later, I got an email from them saying, we can't stop thinking about you, we love the message, we just think it needs to show up in a different way. So like the original book that I presented was about the message of healing your relationship with food, but it also had a shit ton of recipes in there. It was like a fully colour illustrated thing. They got back to me and they're like, we think the message is powerful on its own without all that stuff.
Yes,
so would you be interested in just doing a book, not a big fancy colour Chris Carr style book?
Isn't that interesting? It's almost like you're enough with a story.
You don't need all the fancy colours and photography. I put so many great photos in there.
Beautiful. Yeah, we'll use that in another book.
We think, like, how do you feel about, we know it's completely different from what you said, but we think just the message should be the book.
Yeah.
And also they wanted to change the title. And my title, I was obsessed with the title as well. It was, my original title was The Perfect Diet, and obviously because there is no perfect diet, perfect diet is self-love, and also the diet of like dieting from perfection.
Yeah.
And they were like, we don't really dig it, we think people are going to think that it is a diet, and we think it's confusing. Anyway, we worked together and came up with the Goddess Revolution, which is kind of good, like kind of great, because like people reading it, like if someone's reading it and they've got eating disorders, they've got a problem, they don't want to necessarily
go to
people
perfect.
seeing it on the cover.
Yeah,
they want
that's
it to
right.
be a little
That's
bit,
such an important thing.
You know?
Yes, it's true, because it's a trigger.
Yeah.
You don't want them to be triggered by the book.
Completely. Like I wanted it to be really empowering for women, but also like if someone's reading it on the bus or on the train, they're not going to be embarrassed.
Yes.
They can read it confidently, even if they're reading stuff and they're like, oh my god, this is me,
Yes.
rather than like, here's how to heal your relationship on the cover.
Exactly.
You know?
Like.
Yeah.
And plus you want people to share the message. I'm not going to share, hey, read this book I'm reading about my eating problem.
Exactly. That's right, and I think it's so important in our space. Like the people that we work with will often come to us with like stuff that they want to work through.
Yes.
But it's important for us to make sure that we are empowering them in a way that is always leading, like uplifting, rather than like let's go into all this deep stuff, and then it feels like therapy, and it feels like God, this is so dark. I actually feel worse than
it's so true, and that's the difference between coaches and traditional therapy, I think, because in traditional therapy sometimes you can go into something and you're like, oh no, I need to fix it. In coaching it's like, you're already perfect, let me show you how, and by the end of the first session you're going to feel better, and that's the guarantee. And when you say, it's like, instead of people being attracted to this thing and being ashamed, it's almost like, oh, I should be ashamed of me. It's more like, I'm a goddess that's flowering, and I'm proud of that. So it's completely shifting the paradigm of how we've been trained. Oh, I have this thing wrong with me. No, I don't. I just have something to learn through it.
And also shifting there's so many like toxic beliefs on like diet and weight loss culture, and just the media that says that basically has been telling us our whole life that the thinner we are, the happier we'll be.
Oh my gosh.
The more we love ourselves. And like the amount of times I run in circles, like, okay, I'll get to this way and then I'll be happy and then I'll love myself, and I get there and I'm like, oh no, maybe I'll lose 5 more pounds and then I'll be happy. And
then it's like, why would I be happy when I'm thinner? What, all of a sudden my body's gonna make my emotions change? That's hilarious to me.
Completely, but it's what we've been fed.
So what feeds our soul for real?
What feeds our soul for real? Oh, connection.
That's right. I was just gonna say, but I wasn't gonna say it. It's connection to self and others. And when you love yourself, you're connecting with yourself. When you're saying, oh, when I'm 5 pounds thinner, it's like saying I'm rejecting myself as I am, so why would I be happy then? It's so dumb how we're taught. It's like, when you just realize that I was born perfect for my purpose, society is out of date, but it's because society is saying it's not empowering your authenticity, it's empowering you to be a sheep and to be controlled. And we're saying we are empowering ourselves by owning and loving all of ourselves and being whatever size, because it's not about that. It's about what feels good to me. What do I like to eat?
Completely. And also,
I feel good.
what is nourishing?
What is nourishing?
That's not necessarily just about food. Like, I feel as though, and I see this in LA as well, not specifically in LA, but like generally, a lot of people are getting good nutrition scientifically, but not really nourishing themselves with food.
So true.
And they're not really nourishing themselves in other areas of your life, like nature nourishes us.
That's right.
Warmth, light, hugs, love, kisses. These are all nourishment to us and pleasure. And like a lot of people are not getting any pleasure in their lives, and definitely not from food, because we're taught all this conflicting information about pleasure, like guilty pleasure, or like it's sinfully good.
Yeah.
Like, which one am I supposed to feel guilty about pleasure? Like, is it a sin or is it good? Like, I don't understand. So we're always being taught that we should be feeling guilty for eating food that we enjoy.
That is a whole other video we should do about guilt, because it's like once you realize the guilt is cleared, that's when you're free. We need to do a video on that. And it's funny that you said nature and love and all these things. It's a reflection of your true self. It is nourishing your soul.
Because we are nature.
Because you are nature.
And we are love.
And we are abundant. We are goddesses.
It's all perfect.
It's all perfect.
All perfect.
It's all perfect.
And that is a situation put like there so that we can transcend it and realize the beauty of contrast.
Oh my gosh, that's a whole other video too.
But you have to come back.
Just come back.
Let's do a whole series.
We should do a series. Let's do the
I'll stay in that room. We're just gonna shoot a whole movie.
Hey guys, we're gonna have our own series on YouTube. Just wait.
Perfect.
But let me see how much time I have left. Not much time. So I just want to end with telling everyone how they can find you and what to look forward to.
Perfect, thank you. So you can find me on my website at melwells.com.